Have you ever been somewhere that just felt like home? When you arrived there the first time, it was so comfortable that you knew that that was the one place that you wanted to be for the rest of your life. That place to me has always been Wyoming. After a family vacation in the mid-90s, I fell in love with the mountains, with the fresh air, with all the accessible outdoor activities that were available, and I knew that one day I would end up back in Wyoming. I was a pretty typical teenager growing up in Indianapolis. I had a 4-point GPA, was headed to medical school, and at over 6 feet tall, I loved playing basketball. Life was pretty good at 16. And so then when I found out about the opportunity to come back out to Wyoming for a camp, I jumped at it, started saving my money right away, and knew that it was going to be an incredible life-changing experience. On a Monday morning, August 2nd of 1999, I woke up just like every other morning that we'd had at the ranch. I headed down to the lower corrals to feed some steers that we had that we used for roping and riding. And as I climbed up onto a hay rack, I broke open one of the bales of hay, and a flake of it fell to the side. So I used the pitchfork that I had and leaned over to pick up the flake of hay. And when I did, I lost my balance. The last thing I thought was throw the pitchfork. I came to a few minutes later and realized that I was laying on the ground and couldn't get up. So I thought maybe a bale of hay had fallen down on me, or maybe one of the steers had gotten out and was somehow on top of me. And that's when I noticed the pitchfork. When I had fallen, the wooden handle had landed, and I had landed crossways on it. And so although I didn't impale myself, the damage had been done. So if you take your hands and you find your last rib, and you follow it all the way around to your back, that's your T12 vertebrae, and that's what I had damaged, and in the process severely damaged my spinal cord, causing permanent paralysis. Now, the next few weeks are a little bit of a blur to me, but what I can tell you is after some surgeries and rehabilitation, I was sent back to Indianapolis, and that's when the darkness set in. Here I was, 16 years old. I had had all these dreams and plans, and now I had to sit back and watch them as they slipped away one by one. I missed the first 11 weeks of my junior year in high school and lost my 4.0 GPA. And I had to sit on the bench and take stats while my basketball team, went to the state championship that year and won. To say that things were dark in my life would have been a pretty great understatement. People would come up to me and tell me what an inspiration I was and how I motivated them, and I would smile and try to act positive, but that wasn't what was going on inside of me. I was bitter, I was angry, and I was depressed. And I made a vow then and there that this wheelchair would not take away any more of my dreams. I'd always wanted to be a surgeon. To me, there was no plan B, there was no second option. Since I was a little girl, it was always I was going to be a surgeon. And so when my accident happened, I thought, you know what? I'm going to prove that I can still do this, even in a wheelchair. And so I graduated from high school, and I headed off to my freshman year of college as a pre-med major. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, that first year was my own private hell. This chair had changed everything. The dream that I had before looked nothing like it did previously. What I had loved about it was gone. And so I thought to myself, how can we force this? How can we make it work? And so people would come forward and say, well, let's try this medication, or let's try this equipment that maybe will help you become a surgeon. Obviously, taking a wheelchair into a sterile environment is probably not the best idea, and sometimes I have leg trimmers that would probably not be conducive to holding a scalpel over someone's body. And so I had to really wheel back and think to myself, what are you going to do? My career path, my dreams needed a drastic overhaul. I could have become bitter about this. I could have struggled even more, but I decided then and there that I was going to try to change and make a difference in my life. And in doing so, I learned a very valuable lesson. Sometimes it takes more courage to let go of your old dreams that you don't even recognize anymore and move on to new dreams. Now for me, looking at my career path, I thought, okay, what do you want out of life? I want to help people. I thought I would do that by being a surgeon. So I thought long and hard about it, and I came to this startling realization that I would go to law school, become an attorney, and make lots of money shutting down every place in the world that was not handicap accessible. Perfect plan, right? You know, it's a great way to help people in wheelchairs, just really, advocate for them in that way. And after some, soul searching and pretty obvious sometimes opinions from other people in my life. They let me know that, you don't have to spend 3 years in law school to help people. There's a lot of other ways that you can do that. And through some additional research, I found a small Baptist Bible college up in Watertown, Wisconsin. And so I decided to go there and get my master's in biblical counseling. And that way I could combine my faith and what I had learned through my accident to help people with accidents similar to mine. So I got all geared up to go to Wisconsin. But before I left, something very exciting happened to me. I met a boy. Now, after my accident had happened, you have to remember I was 16 years old, okay? So boys were kind of important to me at that time. But after my accident, I was incredibly hypersensitive to male attention. I thought to myself, you're in a wheelchair now. Nobody's going to want to date you. Who in their right mind would marry somebody in a wheelchair? And so I wasted the next few years in high school and college doing what I seem to find a lot of young women doing these days, and that was settling. I had such a low self-esteem and such a low opinion of myself that I wasted a lot of years dating guys I had no business dating. And I thought to myself, the first guy that smiles at you, grab him and head to the altar, because that is the only chance you're going to get. Sink your claws in deep and do not let go. And that was my mindset. I thought that's what my life was going to be, would be settling, because I didn't deserve anything better. So when I went out to Wyoming in 2005 again with my sister, we had a youth group activity with one of the local churches. And so we pulled into the ranch where we were going to have the activity, and we got there in the truck and pulled into the parking space, and this young man came out of nowhere, and he grabbed my wheelchair out of the back, and he put it together expertly, and he put it in exactly the right spot for me to transfer out, and then he took a step back, and then he let me get in and maintain my independence, and then he helped me across the gravel parking lot, and again expertly turned me around, popped me up the stairs and into the building, and I thought, who is this guy? Where did he come from? Did he fall from heaven? What's going on here? Who is this man? And so I could spend the entire evening sitting up here telling you all about Russ and all about our love story and how we fell in love and how that worked out for us. But come to find out, Russ's dad had MS and had been in a chair for most of Russ's adult life. And so this chair wasn't anything to him. In fact, it was kind of second nature. And so the way that we were able to meet and fall in love, I think, is pretty special. But like I said, I could sit up here and talk about Russ all night, and I won't do that. But long story short, we were engaged not too long after that and married in 2006. The best part about it was that Russ was going to take me back to Wyoming. So it was kind of a win-win for me. I met the man of my dreams, and he was going to take me back to the location of my dreams. But then I started thinking about it, and I thought, I'm in a wheelchair now. Is it going to be the same? Is this going to be one more thing that I'm not going to be able to enjoy anymore because of the wheelchair? And so that old fear crept back in. And so I really had to tell myself, you know what, just give it a chance. And so after grad school, we moved back to Wyoming. And you know what I found out? Not only could I enjoy the same outdoor activities that I had enjoyed before, I could experience all of these new activities, like four-wheeling and kayaking and camping and hunting. Yes, I said hunting. That seems a little unusual sometimes to see someone in a wheelchair that's able to hunt, but I learned another important lesson, and that is that the outdoors does not have to be a scary place for people with a disability. Maybe you don't have a physical disability. Maybe your disability is fear. Maybe there's just something in your life that's changed or something that you've lost. Change is inevitable. It always happens. But it's what you do when that change happens that matters. So here I was back in Wyoming, and in 2008, I was approached by another friend in a wheelchair. He wanted to start a nonprofit organization all based around disabled hunters. And at the time, I didn't really know a lot about hunting other than my husband's family had done it. I was from Indianapolis. We don't really do a lot of hunting there. And so I thought, sure, I'm a computer nerd. I can be the secretary. I'll take notes, things like that. Little did I know that they had plans for me. And after our inaugural hunt in 2009, they approached me and said, have you ever thought about hunting? And I thought, not really, but maybe I'll give it a shot. And so, long story short, in the fall of 2009, I was able to go on my first hunt. Now, a lot of people ask, how does that work when you're in a wheelchair? Well, I'll tell you right now, a lot of the things that I tried did not work. Tried hunting with a rifle because of the blood thinner I'm on. I had a lot of blood pooling in my shoulder, and that wasn't because of the recoil. My husband brought his bow out and said, oh, try this. And as I pulled it back, I almost flipped my wheelchair over backward, and I thought, yeah, that's not going to work either. So we started doing some research, and ladies, maybe you can appreciate this being from Wyoming, but For my birthday, my husband bought me a bow. And so it's fitted with a CO2 canister, like a really deadly paintball gun. And you push a button on the stock and it pulls the bow back for you. And it's out in the lobby if you'd like to see it afterward. And so that was how I was able to hunt. And adaptive equipment let me share that adventure with others and really experience something that I didn't think it would be possible. So I started thinking, what's another adventure you've always wanted? I'd always wanted to be a mom. And again, people see the wheelchair and they think, how does that work? Surely you'd have to adopt. You can't have kids. And I won't go into all the details about that. If you'd like to ask questions about that or anything else, you can meet up with me afterward. But because of some amazing doctors and some great research that they were able to do, my daughter was born in 2010, and she just turned 3. And I had all these fears about being a mom. What if I drop the baby and roll over it? I don't know what I'm going to do, and had all these fears about it. And come to find out, it's just like anything else that comes along in life. If it's worth doing, then you can be creative and be innovative enough to figure it out. So whether it's Addison and I jumping in the car and heading to Walmart together, or whether it's explaining to her that all those other moms are not weird because they don't have wheelchairs like your mom does, it's an everyday adventure with her, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But because my sense of adventure is never quite satisfied, this past year I took on something a little outside of my comfort zone, and that was a beauty pageant. Now, I can sit up here all night and talk about all my outdoor activities and my hunting and things like that and what a tomboy I am, but I'll be perfectly honest with you. When I first heard about this Miss Wheelchair USA, I thought, yeah, right, that's not going to happen. I've seen Miss Congeniality with Sandra Bullock, I have the stereotypes about beauty pageants. That's not going to happen, I thought, what's my talent going to be? I could take my bow and shoot the tires out of the other contestants' wheelchairs, Might be kind of fun, Thought that might score me a few points for creativity. But I realized really quickly that after some research, this was not like any other pageant. And it was all about empowering women with disabilities and giving them a national platform in order to talk about what was important to them and to inspire other people and change lives. And so I thought, okay, I'll do it, So I was selected as Miss Wheelchair Wyoming last fall. And in July, I got to go to Ohio for the National Miss Wheelchair USA competition. And it was a lot like other pageants, but they were all women in wheelchairs. And all my friends back in Cody are all guys in chairs, which is fine, but it was nice for me to be able to interact with some other women that are in chairs and get to talk to them. And long story short, I was incredibly humbled and honored to win the Miss Wheelchair USA pageant this year. And so I get to spend the next year traveling and talking all about disability-related issues and hopefully encouraging other people that if I can get out and enjoy the outdoors, then you can too. And so here I sit before you tonight. I'm not a surgeon. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a basketball star. But I'm a wife, and I'm a mom, and I'm a teacher, and I'm a hunter, and I'm Miss Wheelchair USA. All of these titles I never in a million years thought that I would want to go after or that would leave me so satisfied and happy. I'm not saying it was an easy thing to do to let go of those old dreams. In fact, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I'm not saying that every day is easy. I may sit up here in front of you tonight and look positive and smiling and things like that, but I can tell you that there are days when this broken body just makes me feel trapped. And there are days when my attitude is anything but grateful. And there are days that inspiring people is not enough for my hurting heart. But you know what? I can look back over the last 14 years and realize that because of that accident and because of all the obstacles that I've had along the way, I am the person that I am today, and I'm able to help people. And that's all I ever wanted from the very beginning, was to help people. So my dreams may not look like they did when I was 16, and people may look at my life and say, oh, that's such a tragedy what happened to her. But it's not, because it's led me to where I am now. And I would never go back to the person that I was before my accident. So take a look at your life tonight. What are your dreams? Are you being brave enough to go after them? Or because of fear, do you have them set up on a shelf because they're just too big of an obstacle for you to go after? Come on. If I can get out there and become a wife and a mother, if I can get out there and hunt, if I can get out there and win a pageant, don't you think that it's worth it to let go of your fear in order to go after those dreams? And so as I spend the next year on the Crown and Camo tour, I'm hoping that I'll be able to inspire people. Isn't that a great picture? Hoping I'll be able to inspire people to realize that it's okay to let go of those old dreams. You just have to have the courage to go after new ones. And I'm not the person to give excuses to, okay? I've been through obstacles in my life, and I've battled through them, and I've come out the other side a better and stronger person. And so maybe it's not a physical disability. Maybe it's some other loss in your life, or maybe it's some other change. Maybe it's just fear, like I mentioned earlier. Whatever it is, you have got to find the courage and the innovation to just let go of that fear and go after your dreams. And so if I leave you with one thing tonight, let it be this, that if you can have the courage and you can have the creativity and you can have the innovation, your greatest adventures could be right through those doors. Thank you.